Hello, and welcome to our online orientation session for Humanities and Communication. My name is Penny, and I'm joined by Rebecca Teo. Thank you so much for joining me.
No problem.
If you could introduce yourself and a bit about your professional journey.
Okay, well, I'm Rebecca Teo. I'm a senior lecturer in journalism in the School of Humanities and Communication. I have been a professional journalist, and now I'm teaching aspiring journalists what to expect in their industry. I'm also the school coordinator of learning and teaching.
Thank you very much. And can you please provide a brief overview of humanities and communication and what the students might expect?
Well, that's a very broad area. So we're in communication at USQ. We focus on a range of different areas. Journalism is one of them. We have public relations, advertising, communications and media studies, which is telling us all about the how and the why of how we communicate and why we communicate. Humanities is a very diverse field. So we have historians, archaeologists, anthropologists, English literature scholars. There's a huge range of areas of study in the humanities. And again, they're teaching us about the stuff of life and how it relates to what we take into our careers.
And what are some of the challenges that the students may face and some tips and tricks to overcome those challenges?
You mean starting life at university? Okay, so I think firstly it's probably knowing the language of a university and not worrying that you don't know everything all at once. So, you know, a university has a certain language all of its own, and there are words like majors, programs, what's the difference between a course and a program, what's a minor, all of those sorts of things that can be really difficult to understand if you are coming to university for the first time and you don't know, especially if you don't know anybody who has been to university, if you're the first in your family, for example. And demystifying some of that can make your initial experience a little bit easier. And that's where support staff and academic staff can help you to understand those sorts of things. Probably from an academic perspective, the one thing that students should be prepared for is sort of self-initiated learning. So it isn't, if you're coming from, for example, a high school background, it's not like high school. You don't get directed as much at high school. If you're a mature age student, you'll be used to a certain pace in your life. So this is more independent. You're working hand in glove with examiners and supervisors, but you really are expected to be able to manage your study. And if you have difficulty in that area, there's good news, of course. There's so much support at USQ to help you do that, because everybody needs help sometimes in managing their work and their life and their family. Definitely.
And so the students are logging into their study desk for the very first time.
Yes. What's
the first step for them to achieve?
Okay, so I guess if you know that you're enrolled in a particular course, you go to the study desk of that course. The most important thing I think at first is just to familiarise yourself with what the study desk looks like. So have a click around, click on links, nothing's going to blow up, you can't break anything on there. So anything that's accessible to you will be live, so you'll be able to access whatever it is that you like. The best places to look at first are always the first page, the course homepage. There's usually a little bit about the course there. Have a look at the Getting Started link if there is one available. It will tell you a little bit more information. Look at what your study schedule looks like. So every course will have a study schedule. There's a little link up on the left-hand side, and it will help you plot your time. It'll show you what activities you do every week and what assessment will be coming up. And then you can look at the assessment link. Don't look at the assessment link first, because you might get anxious about what's involved in that assessment. When the time comes for you to do that assessment, you'll understand a lot more about it and its requirements. So don't look at the course and judge the course by what that assessment looks like and go, oh, I don't think I could ever do that. By the time you need to, that's the part of your learning journey, is acquiring the skills to be able to do that.
And so where do the students find their lectures, and how will the lectures be delivered?
So the lectures are usually on the study desk. Most of the time they are recorded with audio of the lecturer's voice. Every lecturer is different, so they will usually be in every week block. So your study desk is divided into weekly blocks, and you just follow those weekly blocks for what you do every week. So you don't have to move outside of that actually. So everything should be contained in that little one-stop block. All you do is you click on the link and you listen to your lecture. And if you have questions about the lecture, you're not left asking yourself about those questions. You email your lecturer or you contact your lecturer by whatever means that they've outlined, and you discuss those points that need clarification for you, because that's learning. You're not expected to know and understand everything just by absorbing it somehow. You are supposed to have communication with your lecturer.
And are there any face-to-face sessions required if they're studying online?
There aren't, but it's always good too. So every lecturer sets aside an hour every week to make themselves available, where a student will know that they are available at that hour. They will post that on the study desk. I will be available, my consultation hour will be this on this day. So you know that if you email them or phone them, or even if you're in the area, if you come to their office, they will be there to answer your query. The other thing is that if you can't make that time, of course, email or phone your lecturer and they will set aside a time for them to contact you, and then you can discuss it outside of the consultation time. So that's what your examiner is there for, your lecturer is there for, it's to help you.
Most definitely. And so do the lectures have compulsory attendance or a participation mark?
It really depends on the course. So some courses, and your assessment will tell you this, some courses will have participation, and it's usually not about attending an online tutorial. It's more to do with your interaction on the study desk. So every study desk will usually have forums. They're little links, just like a Reddit forum or anything like that, where you can ask questions or you can converse with other students within the course. There's also a social forum where you can talk about making study groups and catching up for coffees and that sort of stuff. But your course questions forum is where you ask questions about the course, you interact with your other students, students within the course about the course. And so that's where a lot of your participation marks come from, is from those types of forums and how well you've engaged in those activities that your course examiner has set for you.
And what will the workload be like, as in how many hours should they be studying per week, per semester, per course? Okay, so that will differ slightly. So every course is around about 165 hours, right? It's 165 hours of time that it should take you to study it. But that's not 165 hours of you actually sitting down and reading through books. That's activities, it's assessment, it's everything to do with the course. So your course specification, there'll be a link on your study desk for your course specification, and it outlines what is what on that. So there'll be directed study, how much time you're expected to spend on your assignments. If you find that you can't keep up with the time, then your first port of call is your examiner. You say, I'm having difficulty, and your examiner will advise you as to the best plan going forward. It may be that it's recommended that you go to the student support team, where they can help you put in place a really good study plan that will help you balance work and life or whatever responsibilities you have. Or anything like that. Or it may be that the lecturer may be able to give you, for example, an extension on an assignment. It just depends on your individual circumstance. And so when will the course content be received? Will it be released at the very start of semester, or individually throughout the semester, week by week?
Usually it's available at the start of the semester so that you can flick through. There are some courses that will have the last half where you're advised not to go into it, because a lot of people, when they're first starting, if anybody's like me, you have a tendency to want to look around and flick through things, and you can get overwhelmed by what you're seeing. So while everything is there for you, don't get hung up on getting too far ahead or trying to judge your ability to do the course based on content that's at the end of the course. Your learning is step by step. Okay, so you don't look at the end point, you just go week by week. Start at the beginning, pace yourself, work through.
And what kinds of assessment pieces can they expect, and where will they find those assessment pieces?
Well, the assessment pieces are always on the study desk. They're always in the assessment link. If there are any links within that assessment link for, say, marking criteria sheets that aren't working, that's when you email the tech support or your examiner and say, I'm having difficulty accessing this. But as far as what type of assessment that you'll do, that really depends on your area of study. So, you may be required to do essays in some areas, or you may be doing reports, or a mixture. You might be in a lot of the practice-based areas of study like journalism and public relations. You're doing public relations campaigns, or you're writing stories, or you're doing television packages or radio packages, or it could be any number of things, because it's such a diverse area. There's not just one type of assessment. There might be quizzes, and the quizzes are online as well.
So gone are the days when people mail in their assessment pieces.
Yes.
Where do they submit their assessment?
Again, on the study desk. The study desk is really the one-stop shop. It is everything that you need, your contact details for your examiner, every bit of information that you need will be on that study desk. So there will be a link for each assessment item. You just upload the appropriate assessment item in the appropriate link so they match, and it goes. You hit submit and it goes straight through into the system, and you'll receive it back the same way.
Fantastic. Are there any useful resources or databases that the students can use when writing their assignments?
Yes, go to the library, talk to the library staff. There are lots of databases in the library, and it depends on your discipline area as to which one that you would use. And the library staff are there to help you not just find the databases but learn how to research well. That's their job.
Definitely. And do the lecturers offer drafts or proofread assignments?
Sometimes, but again, it depends on the area of study. So in some areas of study, your draft may actually be an item of assessment. In others, a lecturer may want to see your draft to see where you're heading. They probably won't mark it, but they just want to make sure that you're on track, and they'll advise you. But again, it depends on the course and it depends on the area of study. In some, they won't at all. So it just depends. But your lecturer will make that clear.
And can you please provide some information about academic integrity and what the students might need to look out for?
Sure. So I think the one thing about to understand about academic integrity, it's about making sure that what you do as a scholar, because you're learning to be a scholar as well as a practitioner, is able to be there's no issue with it. So you haven't accidentally taken what somebody else has done and used it as your own. And it can be anything to do with copyright or plagiarism or any of those types of things. If you're worried about plagiarism, there are again, the student support team has a lot of resources around how to avoid plagiarism. USQ website has a lot of information about the different types of plagiarism. Your examiner will be able to help you with that as well. And a lot of the time there is a thing that we use called Turn It In, which I'm sure that many people in high schools have used as well. So you may already be familiar with it. So you will submit your assessment through that, and it will pick up where there are potential issues so that you can then go and reframe that to make sure that the work that you're submitting is your own original work, because you want to be proud of that work and be able to take ownership of it, using other people's research to help you understand the points that you're making.
And are there any residential schools or placements for humanities and communication?
Yes. Residential schools, no, but placements definitely. So when you get into your third year, usually, we have a couple of courses that you can undertake placements in, and you can do professional projects in, and you can also do research projects in, depending on your area of study. And again, it is, I know I keep saying it, but it is actually dependent on what you're planning to do. So in journalism, we have placements. In history, not so much. Okay, so but it's always in third year, because by third year you've got all the skills and the tools that are required for you to make a really good impression on a future employer or a prospective employer.
As an online student, if they're having trouble gaining understanding of a topic and they need further help, who do they go to?
Course examiner, every time. You may have a tutor who's assigned to you in a bigger course, but your first port of call should always be your examiner, because the examiner is the person who runs the course. They know it back to front, they take responsibility for it, and they will have an overview of where you are at as well in your study.
And sometimes the online students can feel quite isolated. What's the best way for the students to connect with each other?
I think using those forums on the study desk, the social forum is a really good resource for that. So that's where you can, shoot the breeze with your peers, and you don't have to discuss the course. I know as a lecturer, I don't ever go into the social forum, because to me that's the student space. So, connecting with your peers within a course is really as simple as starting a discussion or responding to somebody else on a forum.
And can you please give us some final words of advice as they embark here on their journey at USQ?
I think probably the best advice that I could give is to relax and enjoy it. Quite often students can get really stressed out by very small things because it's an unfamiliar environment, and they really want to do the best that they can, and so they get obsessed with where they're at. And sometimes it's really good to aim high, but if that is your only if that's your only sort of point on the horizon that you're aiming for, you've got to give yourself space to get a bit wobbly within a course. So if you get an assignment back where your mark is not what you wanted it to be, don't let that be the thing that unsticks you from your study, because learning is a process and you progress through it slowly, and you have to be able to stumble and fall. What we want to do, and all the support at USQ is designed to do, is so you don't fail. Falling is fine, stumbling is fine, making your way is fine, it's part of learning, and doing the best that you can is good. But setting yourself an ideal of perfection is probably the number one thing that I think will make you come unstuck. Use the resources that are available to you. So your lecturers and your tutors, all of the support staff at USQ, in the library and the student support team, they are all there to help you. And if you do find that you start to get overwhelmed or confused or worried, go to them and talk to them about it. And sometimes it can be hard to do that. And so sometimes students sit there and they worry about, I don't want somebody to think less of me because I need to say that I'm confused, or I'm worried about my capacity to get this assignment in on time. You have to feel free to do that, because it's part of learning. So you're here to learn, you're not here to know everything from the start, and you've got to give yourself space to be able to do that properly.
Thank you so much for joining me.
No problem.
For more introductory information, visit usq.edu.au/orientation.